There are territorial and maritime disputes occurring on just about every continent on Earth, and some are raising tensions beyond the countries involved. For example, in the South China Sea, China points to historical precedent for its claims to the area, but the Philippines and Vietnam are staking claims as well. Plus, China and Japan are exchanging a war of words over the Diaoyu Islands. There is also the issue of Israel, not only over the country itself established following the Arab-Israeli War in 1948, but also areas like the West Bank. And there's also the rift between Spain and the United Kingdom over the British territory of Gibraltar. The dispute has been ongoing since 1704. And then there's the case of the Falkland Islands, or Las Malvinas, as they're called in Argentina. The spat with the UK makes it one of 17 cases of modern-day colonization recognized by the United Nations. For Argentina, achieving sovereignty over the islands is a central part of the country's foreign policy. This year, a new Malvinas Secretary has been appointed to push for negotiations with the United Kingdom. CCTV's Joel Richards spoke to him in Buenos Aires.
Recovering the Falkland Islands, the Malvinas, has been a high priority for Argentine President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. That was never more evident than when she tapped the former Minister of Education and Senator Daniel Filmus for the newly created role of Malvinas Secretary, a position he assumed earlier this month. It came shortly after Argentina approved a new law that seeks to punish companies that drill for oil near the islands. But in a one-on-one interview for CCTV, Filmus stressed there are many issues at stake, not just oil.
There's enormous scientific potential. There's great biodiversity there. There's enormous potential in terms of energy resources, but it's also a very important door to the Antarctic.
Since the 1982 conflict with the United Kingdom, there has been little dialogue between the two countries. The issue remains sensitive in Argentina. Under military dictatorship, 649 Argentines lost their lives in the conflict, in which there were over 250 British casualties as well. But the new secretary was keen to stress that military action is not an option.
Para nosotros fue una guerra también contra los argentinos.
For us, it was a war also against the Argentines, because that dictatorship killed and disappeared nearly 30,000 people. It was a dictatorship that did not consult the people over the war. And Argentina by no way considers that recovering the Malvinas must be armed. We only believe in diplomacy and a peaceful path to recover the islands.
The new Malvinas secretary says the Argentine constitution respects different cultures. But there is resistance, not just in London, but on the islands themselves. Residents voted overwhelmingly to remain British in a referendum last year, a vote that was dismissed as illegal by Argentina. The task at hand for the new secretary is to find a way to sit down and negotiate, something that hasn't happened in more than 30 years. Joel Richards, CCTV, Buenos Aires.